Actually, Lucia didn't even know why Dalen was so angry. What was so bad about a divorce? Or could it be that Lucia's request insulted Dalen's kindness? Lucia scoffed. Where did Dalen get his kindness from? He was a terrifying and cruel creature from the moment she met him. How else could you force a marriage? The servant opened the door and said, "Miss, it's time for breakfast." "Nope." "Aren't you hungry?" he asked. "Go ahead and eat. I do not want to eat." Lucia had no interest in eating it. During the day in the office, Lucia could do nothing but stare at the computer blankly for a long time, or hold her phone as if she was holding a remote control and constantly switch it on and off. Then she threw the phone on the table and called up Cole. "Cole, what are you doing?" she asked. Although Lucia was someone who did nothing, she was still his boss, and the tone was so serious it must have sounded important. Cole immediately jumped from his desk to address Lucia. "Any orders for me?" "Why aren't you using the bag I bought for you?" Lucia's clear and beautiful eyebrows were knitted very seriously. "This?" Cole still overestimated Lucia. "I keep it at home, but I'll use it tomorrow." "That's good," Lucia said, looking back at her phone. "Is everything all right?" Cole asked. "Yes." "Please give me something to do," Cole begged. He was so bored at work. "Go and see if there are any documents from Mark Leland that I need to review," Lucia said. Cole had already felt that something was wrong with Lucia today. She hadn't always been like this. Since when did she care about work? Wasn't she here to eat and play? "Lucia, are you all right?" Cole asked. Lucia looked at Cole strangely and said, "Why am I so unwanted? Am I not looking good? Didn't you always say that I don't work properly every day? I want to change. Is there anything wrong with that? Is it because I play games, eat, and sleep every day?" "Cole, you're not an undercover agent from some unlucky company, right? Although you work for me and we are still very good friends in private, you..." "Stop." Cole held up his hand to quiet her rambling thoughts. "I'll go and take a look now." He turned around and walked towards the door. "Wait a moment," Lucia said. "What now?" Cole said, turning back to her. "I think it's better if I go there myself." Lucia stood up and left. Cole was completely speechless. Lucia went to Mark's office. Mark's assistant saw her and was about to say something, but Lucia had already pushed open the office door without a care in the world. The assistant's mouth was open, but no sound came out. The moment Lucia entered, she saw another woman in Mark's office. Beautiful-looking, fashionable clothes, with a pair of peach blossom eyes. Quite attractive. Mark didn't expect Lucia to come into his office. Moreover, she had entered without knocking, so he was understandably surprised. "Is this a bad time?" Lucia asked. No one answered her, but she didn't understand why Mark had a strange expression, so she asked the woman sitting there, "Which department are you from? I don't think I've seen you before." "You don't know who I am?" The woman, who was Tracy Parker, could hardly believe it. I'm sorry, but that company really has so many people. You should know that. I meet so many people every day, so I don't really remember," Lucia said. Lucia felt that this girl in front of her was still young. Logically speaking, she should know who she was, right? Tracy was famous, after all. She leaned over and whispered in Mark's ear. "What are you talking about? As the head of the company, can I hear it?" Lucia said. Mark didn't say anything. Tracy answered, "We're talking about remarriage." "So it's about a remarriage? What about it? Whose idea was this proposal?" Lucia stopped midway through her sentence. She instantly thought of the idea of remarriage and looked at Mark and Tracy in shock. She already knew that Mark was divorced, so this was his ex-wife. A remarriage? It seems like a sensitive topic, doesn't it? This did not require her at all. "Aha! Then you guys take your time and talk. I'll be leaving," Lucia said, backing out. "Boss," Mark finally spoke up. What is it? Lucia asked. Why did you come to find me? It's nothing. I just came to visit you. With that, Lucia really left. She walked to a spot not far away, then dodged to the corner and watched Mark's office door, spying on the situation. After waiting for about 10 minutes, she saw the woman come out and leave. Lucia then went to Mark's office. As before, she didn't knock on the door and just pushed it open. Mark, was that woman really your ex-wife? Lucia was completely unaware of how uncourteous her actions were. Indeed, Mark answered. She's so pretty. Why did you get a divorce? Lucia asked. Incompatible personality, Mark said simply. Isn't that the worst excuse for a couple to get divorced? Lucia looked down on him and asked. Mark's patience was wearing thin with Lucia's persistent questions. Boss, what do you need from me? Mark asked this because he didn't want to answer Lucia's question. He wanted her to leave the office. However, Lucia had no idea. Mark, how did you two know each other? Did you use some tricks to force her to marry you? Mark didn't know what to say. Did she really think he was the same as her awful man, Dalen? He didn't want to answer Lucia's question, but if he didn't, she would never leave. Not really. So how did you meet? Lucia asked. We were both students at university. Wow, then she's also a lawyer? Not exactly, answered Mark. Then what does she do? She's in entertainment. She's a celebrity? What's her name? Lucia's curiosity kept her asking question after question. Tracy Parker. Tracy Parker? That was actually Tracy Parker? That's Cole's idol. Lucia had never been enthusiastic about celebrities, so she naturally didn't care about Tracy. However, she knew the name because Cole never stopped talking about her. Haha, I'll go tell Cole now. With that, Lucia finally left Mark's office. After Lucia entered the office, she ran to Cole. Do you know who I just saw? Didn't you just meet Vice Director Mark? Cole asked, wondering what on earth could Lucia be talking about. What's so good about him? It's his ex-wife I'm interested in, Lucia said quickly. What about his ex-wife? Cole was even more confused. Do you know who his ex-wife is? Now, don't get too worked up when I tell you. She's the celebrity Tracy Parker. What? Are you serious? Cole stood up abruptly in surprise and joy. Well, are you interested in what I have to say now? Asked Lucia triumphantly. I'm going to ask her for an autograph and a photo, Cole said, heading to the elevator. Lucia pulled Cole back. There's no need to go. Why? Don't try to stop me. This is my dream, Cole snapped. Because she's already left, Lucia said. What? Why didn't you tell me earlier? Cole was furious. Lucia stared at him. Is Tracy Parker more important or am I? You actually dare to be so mean to me for her sake? Of course she is more important than you. Cole pulled on his hair in frustration. End of friendship, Lucia snapped. She turned around and left. Come on, you don't mean that. He had heard her say this countless times. Cole followed her with a face full of shame. Don't be angry. I was joking, Cole said. It wasn't funny. I thought it was funny. All right, just don't be angry. I'll treat you to lunch. I'll think about it. We'll eat a big meal. All right. Cole giggled and asked, when you saw Tracy Parker, did she speak to you? A few words, Lucia answered. What did she say? Cole was desperate for any information Lucia could give him. I just asked which department of the company she was from, and she was surprised that I didn't know her. Nothing else, Lucia said. I don't even know what to say to you. Cole was depressed. He should have been the one to have met her. What's wrong? I feel like Tracy Parker is going to be offended like the psychiatrist. You actually asked her which department she's from? I'm surprised that she even talked to you, Cole said with a pained expression. Okay, but should I know her? Do I need to know the name and face of every celebrity? Maybe I don't want to know her yet, Lucia said disdainfully. Well, you don't want to know her, I think, okay? Let me ask you, why was Tracy Parker looking for Vice Director Mark? Cole asked. She said they were going to remarry, Lucia responded. Oh my God, is this considered gossip? You know, a piece of news from Tracy Parker is worth gossiping about. I didn't know why they divorced. The news from before had split into all sorts of versions. I had heard that Tracy Parker was forced to marry into a rich family with tears in her eyes, and she was chased out of Mark's family. They also say that her husband was from a fake rich family, and that Tracy hated deceiving people and actually ditched her husband. But no matter what, I still like Tracy Parker. Cole told Lucia all the different versions of the story he had heard. I think that Mark definitely isn't a good person, Lucia said. Why? Because the world is a dark and bad place, Lucia said somberly. But isn't Dalen just as bad? Cole asked, aware that he was approaching a sensitive topic. Don't mention him, Lucia shouted. Cole thought to himself, so it was because of Dalen that Lucia was acting so strange today. You offended Dalen? Cole guessed. What do you mean I offended him? He obviously pissed me off, Lucia snapped. Cole immediately sighed, acting like Lucia didn't know what was going on. That's not right. You weren't there. You still don't know anything. How can you say that I was in the wrong? Lucia was unhappy. Cole was tired of Lucia's complaining. Can't you see how nice Dalen is to you? The things you eat and wear are all the best. I'm afraid that if you don't eat Will, he will bring you food every day. What kind of man has the patience to bring you back time and again? Just be content with what you have. To think that someone who was so favored would feel so unlucky. Knocking on the door of the office, Lucia's assistant walked in. Boss, your lunch is here. Lucia's expression changed and she slapped the table and stood up. I won't eat it. If you dare to bring it in, I'll throw it in the bin. The waiter, who had just entered, was so shocked that he stood there motionlessly. He looked at Lucia, who seemed like she was about to climb onto her desk and explode in anger. Lucia sat on the chair with a calm expression. It was as if she had never been angry. Take it away. I won't eat it, Lucia repeated slowly. Back at the Patrick's family company, the matter of Lucia's refusal to eat had reached Dalen's ears. His face instantly turned cold, and even the air around him was frozen. Dalen, who was sitting in his study, stood up. His anger prevented him from sitting calmly. He walked out. Coincidentally, Axel came over. Seeing Dalen's gloomy face, he called out to him. Dalen! Dalen did not respond. He looked at Axel with an even colder gaze than before and walked past him. Axel looked in the direction that Dalen disappeared to and slightly frowned. What happened to him? Axel hadn't offended him, right? But it felt as if the cold gaze was directed at him. When he came back to his senses, he saw his father, Robert, walking over. Come to my office, Robert commanded. Axel went over. He knew they didn't have to worry about being overheard when they spoke in his office. Does this feel wrong? Robert asked. What do you mean? Axel had no idea what he could be talking about. I'm talking about how Dalen looks down on everyone. Robert couldn't believe how his son was so dumb. He's probably just in a bad mood, Axel said, with his eyes focused. And he treated you like this just because he's in a bad mood? Rubbish! He ignored you! Robert shouted. What are you trying to say? Axel's face was calm. Compared to Robert's excited mood, he seemed to be fine and not bothered by Dalen's attitude. It seemed that whatever Dalen did to him, he would always be calm. What I want to tell you is, even if you are above everyone else, you are still a subject to him. You don't have to put up with him. Do you understand what I mean? Robert asked. You want me to take over his position? Axel guessed. Why not? You are no worse than Dalen. If you have any ambition, then work on it to make sure that this company will become yours, Robert exclaimed. And what would happen to Dalen? Axel had a soft spot for Dalen and was always worried about him. Robert was momentarily silenced. After registering what Axel actually said, he had an angry look on his face, as if he was enduring something painful. I'm telling you, Dalen will fall into my hands one day. Then I'll wait and see for that day to come. Axel smiled with an unknown meaning. By the time Lucia walked out of the company at the end of her day, the building was empty. She also felt empty from within, like a hollow shell. But she did not show it. She was constantly going back and forth, deciding whether she should return to her father's house or to the mansion. In the end, she decided to return to the mansion. Why should she act like she's in the wrong, running away from home in a temper? No way. She would return home. When she got back to the mansion, Lucia found that Dalen had already returned home. His car was in the driveway. It looked at her with a kind of haughty attitude, the same way Dalen did. Lucia walked into the hall and immediately saw Dalen, who was sitting lazily on the sofa with his legs crossed, staring at the TV and not her. From the moment she entered the room, his eyes hadn't moved at all. It was as if Dalen couldn't see her at all. Without any expression, Lucia shifted her gaze away and headed upstairs. John walked over. Mr. and Mrs. Patrick, it's time to eat. Lucia noticed that she had gotten home later than her usual time. She used to be able to take a bath before dinner, but now she didn't even have time to go up the stairs. After hesitating for a moment, she headed to the dining room. She sat down and began to eat, but Dalen didn't come. Finally, while Lucia was eating, Dalen walked over and sat down at the dining table. The two of them ate in silence. In the dining room, there was only the crisp sound of the utensils clashing against each other and the plates as they ate, as if each action replaced the sound of their own hearts. The atmosphere was dull and oppressive. John looked at Edward silently. Why was the atmosphere so strange? Edward didn't have any expression on his face, but he saw everything clearly. Lucia left the table first, followed by Dalen. While the servants were cleaning up the dining table, John asked Edward, Did they quarrel? I didn't hear any noise, Edward answered. I know that the young mistress did not come back to sleep last night, John said. I thought that she went to stay in her father's house, Edward said. In the bedroom, the space on the bed between the two people was vast. They had an unspoken agreement that they would do their own things and sleep well. After turning off the lights at night, Lucia was still thinking that her marriage with Dalen was a mistake. It felt like the space between her and Dalen was separated by a galaxy. She had to flap her wings to fly over. Lucia wondered if Dalen was having a hard time right now. After all, he had married a girl just because he wanted to repay his gratitude towards her, and this girl wasn't very good to him. Would he regret it? Probably. Who would give up the happiness of their entire life to repay a debt of gratitude? And he even refused to get a divorce. Lucia felt a headache coming on. What did he take her for? Dalen didn't need to pity her in such a way. That would only make her more miserable. Lucia fell asleep in a cloud of melancholy. She thought she would lose sleep over her thoughts, but thinking too much surprisingly calmed her down in the end. Finally, she felt still, like a lake without any ripples. But what choice did she have? Other than being calm, what else could she do? Even if the reason for their marriage was so far-fetched, she didn't have the right to say no. It was Dalen who held the reins in their relationship. It was like running in a dream, when you're unable to get anywhere. In the darkness, Dalen opened his eyes. In the dark night, he could clearly see Lucia's eyes because they were darker and deeper than the night. He hugged her back. Lucia, who was curled up on the bed beside him, automatically leaned into his chest, unconsciously finding it the most comfortable position to sleep in. The light in Dalen's eyes changed. He whispered, "I'm the only one for you. Do you understand?" When Lucia woke up, she found herself in Dalen's arms. She woke up with a start and retreated away from him. Dalen opened his sharp eyes and his expression turned cold. "Am I that disgusting to you?" He was hurt and offended. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. I could sleep somewhere else." Lucia did not look at Dalen's expression. However, this changed atmosphere suddenly made her feel very bad. She didn't know why she was sleeping in Dalen's arms. Before she went to sleep, she had obviously slept close to the edge of the bed. How did she become so close to him? Dalen got off the bed with his blanket and let out a long breath. He went to the bathroom and she heard the bath running. When Dalen finished washing up, Lucia was still sitting on the bed. The coldness of the room was still lingering. Back at the office, Lucia decided to not have lunch. Cole asked, "Why didn't you have lunch today?" "I don't want to eat," she answered. I say, can you not be so stubborn? Why did you quarrel with Dalen? Was it because you saved his mom and he knew the truth? Cole asked. Lucia glanced at him and nodded. Why are you fighting? Aren't you better, now that you're a savior? What are you so conflicted about? If it's true and I was her savior, then he should have just given me some money. Why did he marry me? Lucia was so exasperated. She sighed and did not say another word. Lucia had always thought that Dalen liked her. Usually people marry people because they like them, right? She had accepted Dalen's controlling attitude and had even come to like him, which made her very happy. She had slowly accepted Dalen as a person and as her husband. But the truth was, Dalen didn't like her. He was simply repaying her for her kindness. What's the difference between this and a business deal? What was there to be happy about? This was a marriage of gratitude. Since we don't have anything here, why don't we go out and eat? I'll treat you to a big meal, Cole said. What are you going to do if you don't have anything to say to me? Lucia said spitefully. What? Even treating you to a meal wouldn't do? Don't make it sound like I'm being petty. As the two of them were walking out of the company, a dazzling female star arrived. Cole's eyes immediately lit up. He quickly ran over and said, Tracy Parker, I really like you. I'm your #1 fan. Can you give me an autograph? Okay. Tracy gave him an autograph. Can you take a picture with me also? Cole asked, trying not to press his luck too much. Tracy Parker agreed. Cole gave his cell phone to Lucia. Quickly, help me take a few more photos. Lucia took his cell phone and pointed the camera towards them. It was obvious why Tracy had come to the company. It was obviously to find Mark. Lucia thought, why didn't she ask Mark if he would remarry Tracy? Either way, it was good for the company to have Tracy Parker here. It was like a free advertisement. Lucia, how could you? Cole crumpled to the ground in agony. Lucia frowned and asked, what are you screaming for? I'm screaming? Look at that freaking photo you took. Lucia took the phone and looked at it. The corner of her mouth twitched up a little. If it wasn't for the fact that she was afraid of offending Cole and made him think she had done it on purpose, she would have burst out laughing by now. The picture was framing 2 heads, but there was nothing underneath. It was like 2 balls stuck out on a horizontal line without even a neck. Did you do it on purpose? Cole asked. How about this? I'll help you take it next time. An even better photo. Lucia saved their friendship. Tracy was easy to talk to. She could bend or stretch to help her friend. Go eat by yourself. I'm going to find Tracy Parker. After Cole finished his sentence, He really left. Lucia was stunned. Was Cole really that mad at her? Standing at the door of her company, Lucia sighed and shook her head. A car pulled up a few steps from the curb. Lucia turned her head and looked over. As the window of the car rolled down, she saw Axel in the driver's seat. Lucia walked over with a confused look. Axel, why are you here? I'm looking for you. Want to eat together? Would that be all right? Asked Axel, opening the door. I just happen to have been ditched, and I don't have any food to eat. So, yeah, let's eat together. Lucia was thrilled at the prospect of spending time with Axel. Get in. The corner of Axel's mouth raised slightly as he tilted his face. Lucia sat in the passenger seat and Axel drove off. What do you want to eat? He asked. You're the one treating me to a meal. I'm fine with anything, Lucia insisted. After all, he was the one who was going to pay. Hey, you're the boss. You get to choose, Axel said back to her. Then what are you in the mood for? Lucia asked. I'll have to find a good place, Axel teased. Axel, I didn't expect you to be so devilish. Lucia was surprised. The only thing that could be seen on Axel's face was a gentle smile of joy. When they reached the restaurant, they quickly ordered their food and waited for the dishes to arrive. Lucia couldn't help but look seriously at Axel. Axel's eyes changed slightly. His gaze didn't shift as he looked into her eyes and remained silent. It was as if he wanted to let Lucia eat, and seeing her, he would be fulfilled. Axel, there must be a girl you like, right? Lucia suddenly asked. Axel picked up the cup in front of him, pinched the handle with his white fingers, and said, Why do you ask that? There are no other women around me. Logically speaking, you must have someone you're pining after, and that's why you aren't dating. Am I right? Axel did not deny it. Yes. Lucia wanted to guess who it was. Who is that person? Do I know her? It's not good to be so curious. Axel looked at her with a smile. Lucia pouted. What's wrong with being curious? What do you want to know? Axel sighed. I want to know what kind of girl she is. She must be an excellent girl. Otherwise, how would she be able to make you fall for her? I think that girl must be the happiest person in the world, said Lucia. Why? Axel looked at her. You are so gentle and considerate. There is no girl on this planet who would reject being cared for by someone so kind, Lucia said. What about you? Axel asked. Lucia was confused. I what? Do you like being cared for by such kindness? The words in Lucia's throat suddenly stopped. She used to like it a lot. She even wanted to marry Axel herself. But then this happened. She had gotten married to Dalen. Once she had chosen the wrong path, there was no turning back. The further one went, the larger there was divergence from the previous path. She could still see the other side of the parallel line, but the distance between them would only grow further and further. After hearing Axel say that there was a girl he liked, would she be jealous? She could only envy that girl. Who doesn't like that? Lucia pointed at the other women in the dining hall. Do you believe me? You could have your choice of any woman here. In that case, although that is a compliment, I will accept it as well, Axel said with a nod. It really isn't a compliment. Lucia was serious with him. Axel's smile faded as he asked, You should like my brother better. Otherwise, why would you marry him? Lucia's expression became uneasy again. Why are you talking about him again? It would be better if he had a personality like yours. After she finished, she thought about what Dalen would be like with Axel's personality. It suddenly felt weird because she was more comfortable thinking about Dalen being his original self. I do envy him. Axel said. What is there for you to envy? Lucia asked. Axel shook his head with a smile and didn't say anything. Lucia felt that there was only a slight difference in status between Axel and Dalen. Everything else was the same. Just as they stopped talking, someone approached their table. Lucia was stunned. She raised her head, but her entire body froze. Dalen was looking down on her with his cold eyes. Axel also didn't expect that Dalen would appear her. Dalen, are you here to eat as well? I'm sorry to bother you. Dalen's expression was cold and emotionless. Of course not. Axel smiled, trying to remain relaxed and casual. But Lucia could see Axel's fear of Dalen because she too felt the same. Now she felt as if she had gone behind Dalen's back and done something wrong. But she had only had a meal with Axel. It was harmless and completely innocent. Dalen sat beside Lucia. She didn't dare have any objections, so she let Dalen take a seat. However, she tensed up. She just couldn't relax. It felt as though her body was stretched taut. Why aren't you talking? Didn't you say that you were happy just now? Dalen's uncertain expression could make anyone feel that they were in danger. Lucia said, We're done eating, actually. Dalen's sharp gaze made her words stick in her throat as she swallowed them back. Dalen looked coldly at Axel again. Why are you here? Bro, don't misunderstand. I just happened to pass by Lucia's company. I saw her standing in front of the entrance, so we went to eat together, Axel said. What did you call her? Isn't it inappropriate to call her by her first name? Dalen asked expressionlessly. Axel's expression changed slightly. It was not looking good. Lucia frowned and immediately turned to Dalen in displeasure. What are you doing? So what if I eat lunch with Axel and he calls me by my first name? You think it's okay? Dalen's eyes were cold as ice. Lucia was just about to say something when the waiter came over to serve the dishes, which stopped her from saying anything else, but she glared fiercely at Dalen, then stopped looking at him. You guys go ahead and eat. I still have things to do, so I'll be leaving. Axel smiled at Lucia, picked up his coat from the back of the chair, and left. There was no need to mention how ugly Lucia's expression was. Her face was turned to the other side, and her appetite for food was gone. Are you sad that he left? Dalen asked. Lucia remained silent. The next second, Dalen gently turned her chin. She met his eyes. Did you hear what I just said? He asked. Lucia tried to pull away, but there was no room. She suddenly grabbed the plate in front of her and threw it towards Dalen. Dalen turned his face to the side, and the plate smashed into pieces on the ground. The other people in the restaurant watched this scene in shock. Dalen's face was terrifyingly dark. Lucia's heart shuddered. Her body felt like it was going to collapse. Who told him to come here and mess with her? And why did he say those things to Axel? Dalen grabbed Lucia's head and pressed his lips over hers. Ah! Lucia's eyes were wide open, filled with astonishment. The men and women eating in the dining room looked over in surprise. Interesting, said a man in the corner. Men are so strange, said a woman nearby. They had their own opinions about what was going on. Lucia was stunned by Dalen's sudden action. After coming to her senses, she pushed Dalen away. When Dalen let go of her, she was shocked and gasping for breath. Then he grabbed Lucia's hand and they left the restaurant. He got them into the car which was waiting outside. As Dalen dragged her, she was gasping for oxygen, so she just got in the car and was filled with anger. What the hell are you doing? Kissing me in broad daylight? Do you want to make the headlines? This was too shameful. With so many people in the restaurant, he should not have behaved like that. Lucia felt she had to hide from all society for the rest of her life. This Dalen was a madman. Looking at the moving car, Lucia was angered. "Where are you taking me?" "To eat," Dalen answered. "Can't we eat at the place we just left? We already called for the food and we didn't even touch it. Isn't that a waste?" Lucia argued. "No," Dalen responded. Lucia was furious, especially when she thought about what had just happened. "I don't want to eat with you. Let me out of the car." "You want to eat with Axel then?" Dalen asked in an unfathomable manner. "What does it have to do with him?" Lucia asked. Dalen's face suddenly turned dark, and he angrily said, "Okay, so why did you eat together?" Lucia was so frightened that she stuck close to the door and didn't respond. Did he need to be so angry all the time? It deafened her. "Didn't I tell you to never come into contact with him? Do you think I'm not serious?" Dalen roared out the anger in his chest. Lucia shrank at the door, trying to put on a brave front while shouting, "Look at your attitude! Is this how you should treat your mother's savior?" Dalen's gaze changed slightly as he stared at her. Lucia continued, "Why are you looking at me? Since you want to repay me, your attitude should be better." "I will decide how to repay my debts." Dalen lowered his voice. His black eyes were fixed on Lucia. Lucia's heart sank. Her gaze shifted to the car window and landed without focus. "Isn't it always your decision? It's been like this since the day of the wedding. You don't need to do that at all. I've known Axel a lot longer than I've known you. If there was really something going on between us, it wouldn't have ended up like this. On my wedding day, I didn't feel certain that I would succeed, even if I wore a wedding dress and a ring. Because I knew he will recognize me, and he will not marry someone he doesn't like." Lucia said this calmly. It was as if she was talking about someone else rather than herself. However, in Dalen's eyes, it was as if Lucia was regretting the marriage, regretting marrying him, regretted that it wasn't Axel she had married. Dalen's expression was dark and gloomy, like the calm before a storm. However, Lucia's depressed mood made him not react to anything she said. He looked at her deeply, but his heart felt heavy, as if Lucia's hand had grabbed it and was bleeding it dry. He also experienced crazy jealousy, thinking about Lucia and Axel together. After the two of them had dinner, Dalen sent her back to her office. Lucia got out of the car without saying anything. She walked into the doors of her company without looking behind. She sneered in her heart as she entered the elevator. Returning to the office, Cole smiled mischievously as he served Lucia a glass of lemonade. "Drink it." "How did you get the picture?" Lucia asked. "How did you know?" Cole responded. "Didn't I get a photo of you smiling at me?" Lucia was furious. "I poured this for you personally. Drink it." Cole changed the topic. "Then go out and buy me some yogurt," Lucia commanded. What did she mean by making Cole work so hard like an ox? Lucia could have easily bought it herself on her way back. But no, she insisted on buying it once she was back, and making Cole do it for her. "Why didn't you buy it on your way back? Was that not more convenient?" Cole asked. "This is all your fault. I would have eaten with Axel if you didn't ditch me. If I wasn't having lunch with Axel, would I have run into Dalen for no reason? No." Cole was flabbergasted for a few seconds before he regained his senses. "Dalen didn't do anything to you, right?" Cole did not expect so much to happen while he was just eating lunch. It was like watching a TV drama. Cole wasn't worried. On the contrary, he was a little excited. "Why are you so happy?" Lucia asked when she saw Cole's expression. "Do I look happy?" Cole asked. "Yes." "Maybe it's because I see you now safe and sound that I'm happy." Lucia remained silent as she stared at him coldly. "Why are you looking at me? I'm telling the truth," argued Cole. "I want to know when you're going to buy me some yogurt." Cole's expression froze as he turned around and left to buy her yogurt. When he came back, Lucia put down the game she was playing and sucked the yogurt through a straw. While inhaling, she stared at her computer screen blankly. Lucia, if I tell you something, will you listen? I promise you will think that I'm such a loyal friend, Cole said carefully. What is it? Lucia asked. Tracy Parker invited me to watch the filming of her new movie. I said that I would bring you along, and she agreed. Cole was bursting with excitement. What does this have to do with our fight? You betrayed me when you ditched me for lunch, Lucia yelled. You mean you don't want to go? Cole asked. Lucia thought for a moment and said, I don't want to, but I will. What's the difference? Cole's mind was tangled up by her. Yeah, I will go because I am so bored. The next day was a double holiday, and there was no need for her to go to the company, and she did not want to stay at the mansion. No way. Lucia really didn't want to tell Dalen that she wanted to go out to watch the filming which Tracy had invited Cole to. So instead, she said to John, who was standing beside them, John, I'm going out with my friends today. I'll be back tonight. Dalen was eating across from her. On the surface, it didn't look like he was eating anything, but his anger was boiling below the surface. John, who was told, looked at Dalen blankly. Dalen remained silent, and John could only ask, Are you coming back for dinner? I'll call you if I expect to get back in time, Lucia said. Oh, all right. John looked at Dalen again, but he still didn't say anything. However, Edward, who knew how to read people's expressions, asked, Mum, are you going out with your female friends? Lucia thought he could have asked a bit more carefully. What does a female friend have to do with him or her going out? I'm going to watch a star film her movie. I'm going to her set, Lucia said, tactfully avoiding the question. To be able to let the young madam watch her acting, she must be a very famous person. I wonder which celebrity she is, Edward asked. Edward, why are you asking so many questions? It was Lucia's first time seeing Edward speak so much. The young madam's safety is something we have to pay attention to, he responded. I won't tell you, said Lucia stubbornly. Dalen didn't say anything the whole time, but Lucia felt the pressure in the dining room was getting higher and higher. She couldn't breathe. In a hurry, she quickly finished the breakfast in front of her, stood up, and carried her shoulder bag on her back as she literally ran out. Dalen threw the tableware in his hands against the wall. Bang! A loud sound was heard. His sharp gaze swept towards Edward and John. The two of them immediately froze. Dalen stood up and left the dining room with a cold expression. John whispered to Edward, Were we talking too much? Edward glanced at John and said, It's too little. Lucia had never come into contact with anyone from the entertainment industry before this. When she went to the set, she was filled with curiosity. She observed the crew running around and spotted Tracy Parker. She happened to not have anything to do, so she sat in the car and fixed her makeup. Tracy was wearing a costume from the medieval era. Lucia assumed that she must be in the middle of filming a scene. When she arrived, she walked up to Tracy Parker and gave a polite smile. You guys are here already? Come on in my car, Tracy Parker said. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. No need. We can stand. We can see them shooting from here itself. It was hard for Cole to hide his excitement. Tracy Parker's gaze fell upon Lucia, who was standing beside Cole. You look very calm. I'm always like this. I believe in staying calm. Even if I haven't seen shooting before, I must still pretend that I have. Otherwise, how stupid would I look? Lucia asked. Tracy Parker giggled and said, Interesting. Lucia didn't know what she was laughing about, but she smiled along. She turned her head and saw another celebrity who was filming a love scene in the distance. The more she watched, the more familiar the celebrity felt. Had she seen her somewhere? Cole saw that she was staring at something. What's wrong? He asked. Now you want to chase after the stars too? Tracy Parker laughed. She's the third female lead. If you want to get her to sign your name, I can help you. No, I seem to have seen her somewhere before. Lucia racked her brains as she thought this. It's very normal, Tracy said. What's normal? Lucia asked. Celebrities always go on TV. Maybe you saw her at home or on the news, Cole said. Lucia shook her head, feeling conflicted. It doesn't seem like I saw her on TV. It can't be that I saw it in a dream. Can it? Cole wanted to hit her. Tracy Parker laughed happily at Lucia. Coincidentally, Tracy was now called to the set. She had to go film her scenes, so she said to them, You guys can take a look around. It's all right, I'll be going now. All right, you're busy. Don't worry about us, Cole said in a sensible manner. After she left, Lucia's eyes were once again fixed on the celebrity that seemed so familiar. Her mind suddenly lit up. I remember now. She was supposed to be Dalen's bride. Isn't Dalen's bride you? Cole asked, confused. No, the bride I knocked out. Cole was surprised as he did not expect to meet her here. Is it actually her? She's actually a celebrity, Lucia said with a dark expression. I thought Dalen was just trying to force me to get married. He was even trying to find a fake bride to make the whole thing look real. So celebrities know how to act. At first, I couldn't tell whether it was fake or not, else I definitely wouldn't have been so easily fooled. But with Dalen's wealth, why would he look for a third-rate celebrity? I understand that a first-rate celebrity would at least bring a high media exposure, Cole suddenly said. This is so infuriating, Lucia yelled. Don't be angry. If it wasn't for me, you and Dalen wouldn't be so good. Cole was halfway through his sentence when he was stopped by the sinister look in Lucia's eyes. Forget it. They were in a fight anyway. It's better if he didn't say anything. Most people had the day off, but that doesn't mean Mark Leland, who worked hard in the company, also had a free day. He was obsessed with his work, so he stayed at the office, even on holidays. When night fell, Mark prepared to turn off the computer and leave when suddenly the office door was pushed open. He froze when he saw Dalen walk in. Mr. Patrick? He asked. Yes. Dalen walked in. Mrs. Patrick is not here, Mark explained. Why else would Dalen come here? I'm looking for you, Dalen said. Mark thought how funny it was that their roles were reversed. He had always been the one looking for Dalen. What orders do you have for me? Mark asked. Dalen sat down on the sofa and crossed his long legs. I heard that your ex-wife came to see you. Yes, she's been here twice, Mark explained. What is going on, he thought. What does his remarriage with his ex-wife have to do with Dalen? Dalen frowned and his gaze was sharp. He said, At least give the other party a chance to recognize their mistake before you move forward. Was Dalen implying that remarriage was a mistake? But Mark did not say that out loud. Instead, he just asked, What do you mean? You should go to your ex-wife and see her. Mark was about to say something when Dalen added, I'll go with you. Mark couldn't understand Dalen's abnormal actions. This was so random and unexpected. As a lawyer, he didn't understand. However, when he saw Lucia and Tracy Parker's table at the bar, Mark understood why Dalen was there. He'd used Mark to get close to Lucia. While Lucia, Cole, Tracy Parker, and Tracy Parker's on-screen boyfriend were having fun playing dice, Dalen entered the room and Lucia was stunned. The dice was thrown out of the cup. Cole was so scared when he saw Dalen that he didn't dare to play anymore. Even the others quieted down. Dalen's aura was so strong that the entire table immediately quieted. After sitting down, Mark said to everyone, What are you guys waiting for? Continue playing. The others began to play absent-mindedly. Some of them had seen Dalen's face before, but they did not know what to expect. Tracy Parker immediately stood up and walked in front of Dalen to greet him. "Turns out Dalen Patrick is here. We are so happy. What wine do you like? I'll order it for you." "I need something strong," Dalen said. "Sure, please wait a moment." Tracy Parker immediately waved to the waiter and asked him to get him something special and strong for Mr. Patrick. When Mark sat beside her, Tracy whispered to him, "What's going on?" "He's here for Lucia," Mark said. Tracy Parker looked at Lucia, smiled, and then went back to playing with her friends. Lucia thought that Dalen had come to deal with her, but now it didn't look like that was what was happening. So why was Dalen here? Or did he coincidentally follow Mark here to actually join them? It didn't seem like Tracy had invited him. She seemed to be as shocked as Lucia. Cole moved closer to Lucia. "Why is Dalen here?" "How would I know?" she said back to him. "You don't know who else to ask?" Cole said. "You can ask Mark," Lucia said. "Then are we still playing? Should we go? I don't even know where to put my hands anymore," Cole said dejectedly. "Look at you, so nervous." Lucia mocked him, even though she too was equally nervous. "Yes, you're one to talk. You're overdoing it trying to pretend you don't care," Cole said in a low voice, gritting his teeth. Lucia regained her senses. The cup of water that she was pouring into was now overflowing. With a blush on her face, she immediately put down the pitcher and used a tissue to wipe the water on the table. A few of the celebrities couldn't hold themselves back anymore after Dalen walked in. Their ambitions were hidden beneath their beauty. If they gained favor with Dalen, then they would have whatever they wanted. One of the smaller celebrities brought a glass of alcohol to Dalen and said, "Mr. Patrick, I've admired you for a long time. Can I toast you?" Lucia raised her head and looked over. She didn't understand why she was being that way. Then she heard Dalen say, "Why not?" This celebrity was so happy that she wanted to faint, so she quickly downed a glass of wine to her heart's content. Dalen too drank up his wine and immediately poured the two of them some more. Lucia bit her lips, trying to suppress the jealousy in her heart. However, no matter how hard she tried, she still felt uncomfortable. Why was he doing this? What was she feeling? Why should she feel sad? Is it because now she knew the identity of Dalen's fake wife? However, Dalen said that he had only married Lucia because he wanted to repay her kindness. What right did she have to feel heartache? Lucia shook the dice in her hand, wanting to shake away the pain in her heart. "Are we still playing? If you don't want to play, then I'll play a few rounds with Lucia." A male celebrity pushed away the girl who was playing dice with her and said to Lucia, "Do you want to play a few rounds with me?" Before Lucia could say anything, she saw the girl pinch the male celebrity. His eyes were bright. "How many rounds do you want to play?" Lucia asked. "We could play a few." The male star laughed. "Be careful of your hands." After the girl finished speaking, she stepped aside. Lucia looked at the two of them talking while smiling in an ambiguous manner. She didn't understand what was so funny. Dalen's expression was terrifyingly sinister. His sharp eyes looked towards Lucia with hostility. Anyone could understand what "play a few rounds" meant, but Lucia was not sure. She looked like someone who had been taken advantage of and had accepted the fact that she was not familiar with the affairs of the world. Mark saw that the situation wasn't right and immediately gave Tracy a meaningful glance. Tracy stood up and pulled the male celebrity away from her. "What are you playing for? Go play with someone else." Why can't we play?" the celebrity complained. "Careful." Tracy's expression turned cold as she gestured. Only then did the male celebrity feel that something was wrong, especially after seeing the expression on Dalen's face, which was terrifyingly lethal. Lucia didn't care who she played with. She played with Cole after the male celebrities were pulled away. After playing a few rounds, they all lost. 4 sixes, Cole said. 5-2, Lucia said. 6-6, Cole said. Lucia looked at the dice number. It seemed to be slightly mysterious. The more she looked at it, the more agitated she became. She directly put the dice on the tea table. "I'm not playing anymore," she announced. "You're shameless when you know you've lost." Cole couldn't believe that she was so brazen. "No, I just need to go to the toilet." Lucia stood up and left. Dalen's gaze followed Lucia's slim figure like a wild beast staring at its prey until she walked out. He stared coldly at the woman who had been squatting beside his legs. His voice was frighteningly cold. "Let's go." Mr. Patrick, The girl was so frightened that her face turned pale. She could only get up and follow him. Dalen's cold gaze fell on the male celebrity sitting on the sofa far away. The same guy who was going to play a few rounds with Lucia just now. The other male celebrities did not have the courage from earlier. They were scared out of their wits by Dalen's sinister and terrifying gaze. The phone on his body vibrated. Dalen glanced at the screen and answered, "What is it?" His expression suddenly changed. He stood up and quickly left the room. Lucia didn't know why she was so unlucky. She couldn't even go to the bathroom without being held hostage by someone with a knife. The sharp blade was pressed against her neck, and if she struggled even the slightest bit, she would be dead. "None of you come any closer or I'll kill her." The person holding Lucia hostage was a destitute middle-aged man who looked like a drunkard. Such people were more likely to lose control. Spencer, who was standing not far away, did not dare to act rashly. He was afraid that the blade would harm Lucia. Dalen ran over and saw the scene that caused his blood to freeze. His black eyes were bloodshot. "I'm sorry, Mr. Patrick, it was my mistake." Spencer felt guilty. He had followed Lucia as she walked out of the room, just in case something happened in the bar. However, the person who had kidnapped Lucia had attacked her from the front. He had no time to stop him. When Lucia saw Dalen, she didn't care about how previously angry she was and shouted, "Dalen, quickly save me! I don't want to die yet!" Dalen's heart ached so much that it was about to bleed. He comforted her gently. "No one will hurt you." And then an expression as cold as if it had come from hell clouded Dalen's face. "Let her go or I'll make you regret living in this world," he yelled. "I don't care. I don't want to live anymore. I just want to be with my little Margot." The drunk man seemed to be trapped by his feelings and had mistaken Lucia as his Margot. Dalen's expression was terrifyingly cold as he stared at the knife on Lucia's neck with a tense expression. Spencer and his men prepared to surround them from behind. Unexpectedly, the man held onto Lucia as they entered the elevator. "Don't come over here! I'll kill her! No one can steal my little Margot!" No one dared to move when Lucia was being held at knife point. Lucia looked at Dalen, who was standing outside the elevator with fear in her eyes. "Dalen, don't be rash. I don't want to die yet." As soon as Lucia finished her sentence, the elevator doors closed. Lucia was held hostage and they went to the roof. When he reached the top floor, Dalen was already there. The bodyguards were all gone and he was alone. The more people would follow them, it would make the man more excited, and he might hurt Lucia. "Don't come near me! I won't let her go!" The man shouted at Dalen. "I'll help you find the person you want. Let her go. This is not Margot." Dalen's expression was extremely cold. If it wasn't for the fact that Lucia was in his hands, Dalen would definitely have ripped the man apart with his bare hands. Who would have the patience to talk to him like this? "What are you talking about? This is my little Margot. I want to be with her forever," the drunk man yelled. "Can you stay away from me when you speak? Your breath reeks. The smell makes my head spin," Lucia said to the man. She couldn't stand it any longer.
Margot, do you actually dislike me? You weren't like this when you were with me before. Tell me, do you dislike me now?
The knife on her neck pressed harder. Dalen, who was watching from a short distance away, nearly had his heart stop. His eyes were bloodshot. Dalen clenched his fists tightly as the veins on the back of his hands twisted. He was ready to strike at any moment. "Ah!" Lucia cried out in fright. The man laughed hysterically.
Are you serious? You don't want to stay with me?
Right. Together. I've already promised to stay together with you, right? Can't you let me go? Lucia felt that she should first calm down his emotions.
No,
the man answered. Why? Lucia was surprised.
You must be lying to me. After I release you, you will run away with someone else.
Although the man was drunk, his mind was not muddled. No, I promise you, okay? I swear to God, if I leave you, Lucia stammered.
You what?
The man was growing impatient. No one will be able to marry me in my entire life. Lucia glanced over at Dalen. She was already married. Such an oath hardly counted.
So if you want to be with me so much, why did you have to go to bed with someone else?
The man asked. Huh? Lucia was stupefied. How could there be such a situation? Lucia even felt a little sympathy for this man. Being dumped in such a manner by a woman was truly pitiful. You must have misunderstood. It's not what you think, Lucia explained.
I saw it with my own eyes. Are you still going to play innocent?
The man began to cry. While she was hesitating on whether she should continue to comfort him, she saw a shadow quickly approaching. Then the blade on her neck was gripped tightly by something, and Lucia instinctively retreated. Only then did she see that it was Dalen's hand that was grabbing the blade. Blood flowed down along the knife. Lucia froze on the spot, her face pale, whiter than when she had the knife pressing against her neck. Dalen had stabbed the man. Lucia hurriedly retreated backwards. However, she forgot that the security fence around the rim of the roof only reached her calves. She tripped and fell backwards. Ah! Lucia cried out in fright. Every part of her body had lost its balance. As she leaned back, she saw the dark night above. Is this how she would die? She didn't want to die. Her body fell down and her clothes and hair flew up. Struggling was all in vain. Lucia closed her eyes, hoping that she would faint before she hit the ground. However, she did not faint, much less fall to the ground. Her body was suspended in the air. Lucia looked up in astonishment. Her wrist was firmly grasped by Dalen's big hand. Lucia felt that even when she was falling down, her heartbeat wouldn't be as fast as it was now. In a daze, she was pulled up. She fainted for a moment as a hand dragged her up. She fell into Dalen's safe embrace. Are you hurt? Dalen checked her body, but Lucia saw the blood on his hands. Dalen had gotten cut when he grabbed her hand. Lucia turned over Dalen's palm. There was a long and deep wound on the palm. Don't you feel any pain? Lucia asked with a trembling voice. Dalen didn't say anything, but his lips were about to press down on Lucia's. Lucia thought about how Dalen was making her jealous with the other celebrities back in the game room and angrily pushed him away. She stood up and was about to leave, but her legs were still weak from the stress. However, she was still able to push herself forward. Lucia! Dalen put his arm around her waist. Don't touch me! Lucia shouted. You're my wife, so you should let me touch you, Dalen argued. What about that celebrity who was supposed to be your wife? You can go find her. Lucia was furious. Lucia, there is no one else but you. Dalen grabbed Lucia's head with his hands and pressed his lips to hers. The kiss was fierce and intense. Gradually, it turned into a gentle and lingering touch. Lucia's breath was taken away. Under Dalen's kiss, her legs became weak and she couldn't stand up anymore. Dalen carried her and left the roof. When Lucia and Dalen got into the car, he was still holding her, and she couldn't help but struggle. "Let me go," she argued. "Don't move." Your hands are covered in blood. Don't you need to bandage your wounds?" Lucia asked with a frown. "It doesn't matter." Lucia bit her lips and loosened her grip. "That doesn't matter. If it doesn't matter, what does matter?" "You." Lucia was stunned as she looked into Dalen's eyes. She turned her flushed face away and said to Spencer in front of her, "Go to the hospital." "Yes, ma'am," came his reply. When they reached the hospital, Lucia, who had wanted to come in the emergency room with Dalen, was chased away. "Wait outside," a nurse ordered. "I'm staying with him." Lucia refused. "No, you have to wait here," the nurse insisted. Lucia glared at her, turned around, and went outside to wait. Her forehead was against the wall. She wanted to peek and see inside if she could get a glimpse of him through the door. However, all the bodyguards were guarding the door, and Dalen would know the moment she went in. Lucia knew this. If she stayed inside, Dalen might not let the doctor bandage his wound. Dalen had been holding his hands and the blood was flowing out freely. If she insisted on being inside, wouldn't he bleed even more? What shocked Lucia the most wasn't the moment she fell. It was the moment when Dalen held the knife with his bare hands. That was what truly frightened her. She could not imagine how painful it would be. However, Dalen's expression didn't change at all, as if he wasn't even injured. Lucia didn't have to wait for long before Dalen came out. His tall black figure swayed slightly. Lucia saw that his hand had been bound, but the bandage was uneven and sloppily done. Still, at least there was no more blood flowing out. Just like that time when Dalen was shot, he didn't show Lucia his wound, which was dripping with blood. He had only shown her the scar when he had fully recovered. Lucia felt that if she wanted to see the scar on Dalen's hand, she would have to remove the gauze, right? But Dalen being Dalen would make sure she did not. "What did the doctor say? Is it going to heal?" Lucia asked. "It's not a problem for me to hug you now." Dalen looked at her with his dark eyes. Lucia's face heated up. "Let me be serious with you." "What I said wasn't true," he said, teasing. Lucia was too lazy to tell him anything else, so she turned around and left. She thought to herself, if Dalen said he could hug her, then it means that his injuries hadn't been severe. They couldn't have reached his vitals, right? And this man in front of her didn't even care about it. It was useless. When Lucia had seen Dalen go to the bathroom that night, she couldn't help but chase after him. He locked his eyes onto hers and with a glint in them asked, "Do you want to come in and help?" Lucia blushed. "Don't you still have your other hand?" Dalen did not force her. With a smile in his eyes, he went into the bathroom and closed the door behind him. If he couldn't help himself with one hand, then so be it. When she slept in the bed at night, Lucia lay there motionless. Then Dalen pulled her over with his arm and hoisted her onto his chest. Startled, Lucia tried to get up. "Your hand!" "If you move again, you'll hurt it." Lucia's body froze and stopped moving. Dalen's sexy lips slightly curled up as he felt the soft and slender body on his chest. The smell of her perfume was driving him mad. "Why are you sleeping like this? This is a big bed, you know," Lucia pouted and said. "Don't you know the use of a big bed? You'll know later," Dalen teased. "Why later? I want to know now," Lucia argued. Who would talk like that? It's big enough so that neither of us would fall off. Lucia's forehead felt hot as she hid in Dalen's chest. She shouldn't have asked. What good could come out of it? However, she was just overthinking things, right? Even if the bed wasn't that big, they wouldn't have fallen off, right? Why would a couple need such a big place? Why aren't you talking? Dalen's low voice was soft in her shiny black hair. I don't want to say it. Are you thinking about the two of us here being together? Lucia's face turned red all the way down to her neck. I was not. She was so angry that she ignored it. She lowered her head even more as she didn't want Dalen to see her face all guilty. Lucia remained silent for a long time. She was thinking about what had happened in the bar. Why did Dalen want to save her? It was dangerous, but he had not even thought about it. He had jumped right into the situation. He could have been seriously hurt. He risked his own life. However, Lucia did not like Dalen's way of repaying her. But what could she do? Divorce? No, Dalen didn't allow it. Make him jealous? Never. She would almost be mistakenly killed. Running away from home? But where could she go? Everywhere she went, she felt like Dalen was right behind her. Lucia's scalp tingled as she turned her eyes away, and this was what he looked like when he was dressed. Is this natural? Satisfied? Dalen asked. I'm not satisfied at all. Lucia, I admit defeat. Come here, Dalen said. How is it possible that he wasn't asleep? Wasn't 10 minutes enough? Why was he not tired? Lucia was stupefied. Her heart, however, collapsed. Seeing Dalen get out of bed, Lucia ran away in fright. However, before she could run out of the bedroom, she was pulled back by Dalen's long arm. Let me go! You must be shameless! You are being shameless! Lucia struggled against his grip. But then she was thrown onto the bed by Dalen. Her head was spinning, and she couldn't stop herself from swallowing. How did I go back on my word? Dalen asked in a low and hoarse voice. What about that? She couldn't even say anything more. Lucia, don't even talk about 10 minutes. Even an hour is the same. Why? It's not like Lucia saw Dalen sleeping. Dalen's black eyes flashed with a dim luster. He asked in a low and hoarse voice, You want to know the reason? Say it. Lucia didn't know why, but she felt that what Dalen was about to say wouldn't be very pleasant to listen to. Because of you, he said. Lucia's dumbstruck appearance was really adorable. Dalen couldn't help but kiss her. When Lucia woke up in the morning, her head was resting on Dalen's firm arm. Lucia was upset when she turned around and saw Dalen's face. Then she saw that her injured hand was above the sheets. Why was her hand not swollen at all? Other than her wrist being a bit sore and red, the rest of her body was no different from normal. Shouldn't her wrist hurt more from where Dalen grabbed it? After you fell asleep, I put some ointment on it, came Dalen's voice, with the huskiness of someone waking up. Lucia was so scared that she immediately stuffed her hands back under the blanket. Her face was flushed, and her thoughts struggled for a while before she finally said, I'm up. She should be grateful to him, right? She should say thank you. But she could not say anything. During breakfast, Lucia looked at Dalen's hand and asked, Why didn't you drop the knife when you caught me when I fell down? Then the wound wouldn't be this serious, right? First, he grabbed the blade, and then he grabbed her. His hand clenched the knife tightly. Even if he didn't show the wound to her, she could imagine it was bad. My left hand is faster, Dalen explained. Lucia looked at him, her heart swelling with emotion. Could it be that he didn't even care if he hurt his hand as long as she was okay? Why was he so good to her? Why, Lucia wondered, did she steal the purse? Not to mention the stealing. Why did she have to steal Dalen's mother's purse? Not only was Linda not grateful, but she disliked Lucia instead. Linda felt that it was because of Lucia that her son had lost his happiness. Such an awkward relationship. You want to feed me? Since I am hurt. Dalen gazed at her. Lucia was stunned. Didn't you eat well? John walked into the dining room. Mum, your cell phone has been ringing. Lucia took the phone and looked at the missed call. It was from Cole. Several missed calls were from him, in fact. Just as she was about to stand up and go back, Dalen said, You can call him from here. Lucia glared at him but had no choice but to sit down again. She dialed the number. Cole's voice came over. Lucia, are you all right? Lucia felt warm inside at Cole's concern. I'm fine. Yesterday, when I saw you being carried away by Dalen, I was completely terrified, Cole said with a false alarm. Don't worry. How could something happen to me that easily? Lucia felt Dalen's gaze on her face as she said this. The heat warmed her cheeks. Well, luckily Dalen was here. Otherwise, she would have been killed. But she wouldn't say that out loud. Otherwise, Dalen would think that she couldn't survive without him. Since you're fine, then come out and hang out with me today, Cole said. Today? What do you want to do today? Lucia asked Cole. Let's eat. Let's get lunch. I'm too bored to stay at home, Cole whined. Lucia looked towards Dalen and quickly retracted her gaze. She didn't know how to reply to Cole. Because Dalen was hurt, how could she leave him alone and go out with Cole? It didn't seem right. Hearing Lucia's hesitation, Cole asked, Is it because Dalen doesn't allow you to come out? Forget it. Lucia was annoyed when she heard that. Who said that? I'll call you back. She hung up the phone. She looked at Dalen, who was eating with his head lowered. She didn't know why, but she felt like she had already given in before she even opened her mouth. Dalen, she began, but he interrupted her, saying, I'm going out shopping today. Lucia had just opened her mouth when she heard Dalen's calm words. Lucia asked, You're still going out after last night? You're hurt. My hand is injured, not my feet, Dalen said. Then, fine. It just so happens that I also— Come with me, Dalen interrupted again. Lucia was stunned. Lucia sat on the swing and called Cole. I talked to Dalen. Where are you? I was just getting ready for our lunch date. Cole's voice sounded excited. Lucia scratched her head awkwardly with her finger. I can't go out. Ah, why? Actually, never mind. I understand. Dalen won't let you out. When you hung up the phone, I thought you would definitely stand up to him and come hang out with me. Don't worry, I won't laugh at you. There's a big difference between getting married and being single. I understand this now, Cole said with a sigh. You don't understand anything, Lucia answered. What's wrong? Is there something I don't know about? Cole sounded concerned. You don't know the whole story. I wasn't injured that much last night, but Dalen was hurt. Lucia's feet rubbed against the grass on the ground as she pouted. Her words were muffled. He's okay, right? Cole was shocked. He was carrying you to the car last night. Why didn't I see that he was injured? He hurt his hand. Oh, okay. You stay at home with him. But if he was injured, why did he still carry you to the car? Lucia hung up the phone, put her foot on the ground, and gently swung the swing. Why couldn't she be more open? Dalen was good to her. He was her savior. Why should she care about his purpose in marrying her? Lucia sighed in her heart. Was she in a negative mood? Soon, Dalen really stepped out and got in the car. Lucia followed him. The window was ajar and Lucia's head was resting on the opening. The wind blew at her face. She had a fair and cute face, and even with her messy hair, it was difficult to cover her elegance and refinement. Lucia looked at the street rolling past under the car. Then she looked at the sky, thinking about Dalen's plan to go shopping. Would he bring the bodyguards? Did Dalen stroll around and window shop? Would he go into the stores? It was hard to imagine. The car turned, but she was dragged backward and the window closed. What did you do that for? Lucia turned around to see Dalen's broad chest. Isn't it cold? He asked. I'm not cold, Lucia pouted. It was cold, and Dalen felt that she was cold. Where do you want to go? He asked. Lucia was stunned. She looked at Dalen and asked, You're asking me? Dalen's gaze darkened. Other than you, is there a third person with us? Lucia's gaze fell on Spencer in front of her, but Dalen didn't acknowledge him. When she retracted her gaze, she met Dalen's cold eyes. Under Dalen's gaze, she cleared her throat and said, I can choose wherever I want? Yes. Then let's go to the mall, the biggest one, the one Cole and I went to before. Once when you were passing by, didn't you see me? Lucia asked. Dalen's black eyes were deep, and he didn't say anything. Can't we go there? Lucia asked again. We can go anywhere you want. Dalen pinched Lucia's jaw lovingly. Lucia frowned and she opened her mouth to bite his fingers. Dalen's mouth twitched into a sexy smile. Wolfhound. A while later, they arrived at the shopping mall. Lucia, who had a bodyguard following behind her, didn't feel uncomfortable at all. Maybe she just wasn't used to it earlier, but this was what came along with Dalen's identity and status. This time, Lucia came with a different frame of mind from the last time. Last time, she didn't know anything. She didn't know that she had once stolen Dalen's mom's wallet in this place. Although she still couldn't remember anything as she stood there, she still felt like she had a gaping hole in her memory. Dalen, if I hadn't stolen your mom's wallet, I might have lost my life, Lucia lamented. Why? Dalen's unfathomable black eyes surrounded her. Lucia felt her face turn hot from Dalen's eyes. She was a little dissatisfied and awkward. Can you not look at me like that? There are so many people in the mall. How am I looking at you? Dalen asked. No matter what Lucia said, it was as if she would be swallowed whole by Dalen's gaze. But she was too embarrassed to say it. If it wasn't for your mother, I might have been caught in the bombing, she said. So I may have saved your mother, but your mother also saved me. So? Asked Dalen. Then I'm not really her savior, Lucia concluded. Indeed, Dalen said simply. That's it? Lucia asked. She thought he would have more to say. Anything else? Regardless of whether you are her savior or not, that is still a thing of the past. You are now my woman. So long as you remember this point, there's no need to rehash the past over and over again, Dalen said. But didn't he say that he married her because of gratitude? Lucia thought about it and decided not to probe him further. If she mentioned it, Dalen's expression would definitely worsen. Lucia turned around and walked forward. She saw a delicious food stall and stood still. Dalen, I want to drink this thing, Lucia said. I'll go buy it. With that, Dalen went to line up. Lucia was surprised. Actually, she wanted Dalen to give her money to line up. Who would have thought that he would directly head to the queue? Dalen Patrick actually lined up for her to buy them drinks. Lucia was truly astonished. She could not believe it for a long time. When she came back to her senses, she noticed that a lot of men and women couldn't help but look at Dalen. Dalen's deep and inviolable aura and noble temperament not only attracted women, but also men. Of course, her husband was handsome and powerful. The weak always look up to the strong. This is a human instinct. Lucia felt that if they were in the past, she would only be one of these customers, and her gaze would be fixed on him for a moment. She would never be the one he would be choosing. Would Dalen move on and like other women in the future? After all, in her heart, she believed that Dalen didn't marry her because he liked her. What if Dalen still had a place for his true soulmate in his heart? and once she appeared and filled his heart, would he get rid of Lucia? Who's more important, a savior or a woman you like? This seemed rather difficult to choose from. After all, kindness is like a mountain. Lucia could not see through Dalen's thoughts no matter how hard she tried. What was running in his mind? She could never know. When it was Dalen's turn to order, Lucia went up to him and said, "Buy 2 cups, one for you and one for me. We have different tastes." When Dalen finished buying the wine and handed it over, Lucia took a cup and said, "1 cup for each of us. You drink that cup." Dalen looked at the drink in his hand and took a sip. Sour and sweet. He really wasn't used to it. However, when he saw Lucia's cute gaze, he forgot all about the wine. "Is it good?" Lucia asked. "Very good," Dalen answered. "You sure know how to pick a good wine," Lucia smiled. While walking around, Lucia sipped on her drink and looked at Dalen, who was also drinking his glass. After hesitating for a moment, she asked, "Dalen, how about you give me a sip?" His choice looked yummy. Up or down? Lucia was confused. What was he talking about? Then she looked down. She then understood what was going on and blushed. "What nonsense are you talking about?" "It seems you understand. Who told you that?" Dalen took a step forward with a sharp look in his eyes. Lucia opened her mouth, but no sound came out. Why did it seem like he had set a trap for her and she jumped in by herself? Hard to say. Dalen looked down at her, the pressure making it hard for her to breathe. I heard it from someone." "From whom?" From who, she thought. Cole had never been in a relationship, so how could he know this? Lucia stomped her foot and threw caution to the wind. When I was in my dorm room in college, my roommate was watching that kind of movie, so I just happened to see it, but I didn't watch much. This is what everyone goes through at puberty, so what's so strange about it?" As she finished speaking, Lucia's face flushed with embarrassment. It was not a glorious thing. Plus, she was feeling so weird speaking about it. "Did it look good?" Dalen asked. "Nope, not good. It's extremely disgusting." Lucia turned around and left. Dalen followed behind and found it very interesting to see her in such a huff. "Lucia, take a sip," he said. Lucia's face turned hot when she heard that. She turned around angrily and glared at Dalen. He poked Lucia's soft little mouth with the straw, indicating that she should drink it. Lucia continued to stare at him. She couldn't get herself to utter a word, but there was so much she wanted to tell him. "Didn't you want a taste?" Dalen asked. "I didn't." "Why not?" He kept insisting she take a sip. "Fine." Lucia bit the straw and sucked up the liquid. Her expression changed. "Dalen, yours is better than mine." "Want to trade?" Dalen asked. "All right." Lucia forgot what Dalen said to tease her and switched drinks with Dalen. She walked forward happily as she drank. Lucia glanced at Dalen, who was drinking her drink, and didn't notice his expression at all. "Dalen, look, I'm really not that old, so it's normal that I like to hang out and party, right?" Lucia asked. "Right," Dalen agreed. "Then do you find me annoying?" Lucia asked again. But before Dalen could say anything, she continued. "Anyway, it's your fault for bothering me. You can't blame me for that." "Even if my own woman made me do her homework for her every day, I would still accept her," Dalen answered. Lucia didn't know how to respond, so they kept walking through the mall. She didn't want to even look at clothes or shoes. She had enough for her in the castle, and most of them were disposable. Dalen was as rich as a king in a kingdom. Wealth was not his concern. She knew this. He would take care of her and never make her feel as if she had less. Lucia saw a jewelry store. As she walked closer, she saw beautiful jewels laden in the display area. "I'm going inside to take a look." With that, Lucia went in. Dalen followed her. She walked around and took a look at those little things. They were all exquisite, different shapes and sizes, and they were available in all kinds of textures. After skimming around, she still did not find anything special to buy, so she stuck to browsing. She was done after a bit and began walking out of the store. "Wait," Dalen called out to her. Then he grabbed his wallet to pay the bill. Lucia didn't see what he was buying and walked out of the store. Just as she was about to ask, Dalen gave the item to her. Lucia took a look at it and asked in a daze, "Wolfhound?" "Your nickname." Lucia immediately understood Dalen's intention, and her small mouth pouted. Because she usually bit Dalen, he used to say she was a wolfhound. Lucia was unconvinced. "If I'm the wolfhound, then what are you?" "I'm a wolf." Dalen grinned. Lucia touched the crystal wolfhound pendant as she walked. She felt that it was quite exquisite. She could not believe there were people who actually sold this kind of thing. Why would Dalen choose this? Didn't she just bite him a few times? However, she was quite pleased with herself when she saw the wolfhound pendant. Dalen glanced over and saw the smile on Lucia's face. He could not help but warm up to her. Suddenly, they heard a shout. "Dalen!" Lucia's expression froze. She looked up and saw Victoria running towards Dalen in a hurry. She stared at Dalen's bandaged hand with a face full of pain and worry. "What's wrong? How did your hand get injured?" "I'm fine." Dalen remained indifferent and called out to Catherine, who was walking over. "Hello, Aunt." Lucia immediately greeted them as well. Catherine sighed. She was worried that Dalen's hand was injured. "How did it get injured?" "He hurt himself," Lucia answered. "You have to be careful. If your mother finds out, her heart will ache again," Victoria said. He didn't have any expression on his face, nor did he say anything. Dalen's silence was scary. From the looks of it, Victoria and Catherine were shopping together. What bad luck, Lucia thought. "Dalen, what did the doctor say? If it's not serious, you wouldn't need a bandage, right?" Victoria worried. "It's a small wound. Nothing happened," Dalen said, keeping his replies short and terse. Lucia's face turned green as she watched from the side. He already said he's fine, and yet they are still behaving as if they are the most concerned about him. Victoria acted as if she had just seen Lucia. She noticed that something was wrong, so she asked Dalen, "Dalen, are you shopping?" Lucia continued even though the question wasn't for her. "What's so strange about shopping?" Victoria's face was pale, as if she was going to fall ill. How could Dalen go shopping with Lucia, such a noble and invaluable personality, being seen in public with such a low-class person? This was something unacceptable to her. Her face lost its color, and this was something she just could not accept. Victoria's body began swaying left and right as she lost her balance. Dalen reached out to support her. Victoria took advantage of the situation and fell into Dalen's arms. At that moment, Victoria was so excited that she felt like her illness could be cured immediately. When Lucia saw Dalen hold Victoria, her expression darkened. She looked at her coldly. Dalen pushed Victoria away and said sternly, "If you're not feeling well, don't come out." Catherine hurriedly said apologetically, "That's right, I won't invite her next time." But who was this apologetic attitude of hers for? It was as if she had let Dalen down by bringing Victoria out. She was to blame because Victoria was exhausted. Dalen seemed to care a lot about Victoria's well-being. Isn't that why he told her to stay at home if she was unwell? There was a provocative look in Victoria's eyes. Lucia gritted her teeth so hard that she was about to snap, but she held it in. After separating from Victoria and Catherine, Lucia was no longer in the mood to continue strolling around. She walked out of the mall. "Going somewhere else?" Dalen asked as he trailed behind her. "No, I want to go back to the mansion, Lucia said. So early? If you want to go shopping, go by yourself. I'm tired, so I'm going back to sleep. Dalen saw the faint expression on Lucia's face, and the dark look in his eyes changed. He said, Then let's go back and sleep together. There was hidden meaning behind these words. Not go back to bed together, but go back to sleep together. This definitely had two different meanings. Lucia, on the other hand, was too distracted to listen carefully as she climbed into the car. Meanwhile, Victoria sat down in the mall lounge while Catherine sat beside her. Seeing that Victoria's expression wasn't too good, she said, If I hadn't met Dalen, you wouldn't have been so overexcited. I'll need to get you some medicine when we get back. No, I'm fine, Victoria argued. I know, this is an anxiety attack. An anxiety attack requires rest. Catherine had watched Victoria grow up. How could she not know what she was thinking? Auntie, what do you think is good about Lucia? Why does Dalen favor her so much? He wouldn't even be willing to accompany someone like me if I wanted to shop. The sadness in Victoria's heart was indescribable. If it was just a casual relationship between a man and a woman, then I would not have asked you to stay away from him. But Dalen already married her, so it means he likes her, Catherine said. Do you think so too? Don't you think that Dalen married her for some sort of goal? Victoria asked. For what purpose? Catherine wasn't sure what Victoria was implying. Right. What was his purpose? Lucia wasn't the girl who stole Linda's wallet, so why did Dalen want to marry her? Neither of them knew each other very well before they got married. When they returned to the villa, Victoria saw Bianca waiting for them in the living room. Victoria didn't like this woman, especially because she looked so much like Lucia. Bianca, you're looking for Victoria, right? Catherine asked. Yes, Auntie. Then you guys go ahead and chat, Catherine said as she walked down the stairs. Victoria sat down on the sofa. Bianca said, You just came back. Do you want to rest? I'll come see you another time. No need, I'm not tired. Oh yeah, I saw Dalen and Lucia when I was shopping, Victoria said. What? How could Dalen do something like that? Bianca also couldn't believe it. I saw it with my own eyes. Victoria's face looked annoyed as she was putting up an expression. Bianca immediately said, It's not that I don't believe you. It's that I can't believe what Dalen did. He has never gone out with me before. Even if we went out to eat, we often went separately. I think Lucia must be scheming something to trick Dalen. These words made Victoria's heart feel at ease, but on the surface she said, That's because Dalen is willing to be tricked by her. Just by watching them together, you can tell how much he likes her. Impossible! Bianca looked down on Victoria. What? Victoria asked. You don't know yet, do you? It was Lucia who stole Linda's purse, Bianca revealed. Victoria had initially thought so too, but she thought she had proven that it wasn't the case. Who told you that? Victoria couldn't remember telling her. Bianca immediately told all she knew. Linda told me herself. She also said that if it wasn't for the sake of repaying the debt of gratitude, Dalen wouldn't have ruined his life by marrying Lucia. Did she tell you that? Victoria was surprised. That's right. I would never lie to you about this. Did you go and ask Lucia? Victoria asked. Yes, she said I was talking nonsense and wanted to beat me up. She doesn't want others to know that Dalen only married her to repay her gratitude, so she hid herself. If that was the case, Victoria thought, then Lucia's scheming was too deep. She actually convinced Victoria that she had no idea what was happening. If this was the truth, then it could explain why Dalen married her. Even if he didn't marry her because he liked her, marrying her wouldn't change anything. Victoria regained her composure and said, Everything depends on the person. Their own destiny is decided by themselves. If it wasn't for Lucia's appearance, Dalen would have married me instead of her. This self-confidence was really laughable, Victoria thought. If Lucia really was the girl who stole the purse, then it would be even less of a problem for her. After Bianca left, Victoria sat there in a daze. She thought of Lucia's stepmother and sister who were not related by blood. Didn't they hate Lucia as well? Where were they now? Miss, we've been wandering outside for most of the day and have chatted with Bianca for so long since we got back. It's best that we quickly go to bed to rest, Jerica said. Axel probably didn't go out, right? Asked Victoria. No, I saw him before you came back, answered Jerica. I'll go find him. Victoria went to Axel's room to find him. She just wanted to ask about Lucia's other family members. Although she knew Lucia's father had died, there were still other members of the family. When she entered Axel's room, she did not see anyone. Axel? Victoria walked around the room, but there was no sign of Axel. Could he be in the study? Just as Victoria was about to turn around and leave, her body brushed against a book on the desk and the book fell down. Victoria crouched down to pick it up. An object in the middle of the book was exposed. She pulled it out and looked at it. It was a picture. The person in the photo was none other than Lucia, who was happily smiling at the camera. Why is there a picture of Lucia in Axel's book? The desk was right next to the bed. He could easily reach it with his hand. Could it be that Axel flipped through the book every night just to see Lucia's face? So, Axel likes Lucia? Victoria couldn't believe it, because even though she wasn't there when Dalen married Lucia, she knew the whole story. It was the false news that Axel was the one getting married that fooled Lucia. That was to say, Axel was also a participant in the trick. But if he liked her, why did he do it? Why did he give Lucia to someone else? Victoria put the photo back into the book, put the book back, and left Axel's room. She began to wonder why Axel didn't fight for Lucia when he liked her. Later on, she realized that it wasn't that Axel didn't want to snatch Lucia from Dalen, but that he couldn't. Just like her situation, she liked Dalen, but she could only watch as he married someone else. After Lucia went back home, she probably went back to her room to sleep. She was likely lying on the bed with her eyes closed, and Dalen would be sleeping by her side. Victoria was depressed just thinking about it. She was too shameless and wanted to seduce a man who was married. Back at the mansion, Lucia was still holding onto the wolfhound pendant in her hand. When she opened her eyes, she looked at the adorable wolfhound and then she fell asleep. When she woke up, she was sprawled out and her legs were on Dalen's body. Lucia immediately withdrew her leg, but was grabbed by Dalen. "What do you want?" Lucia asked. "Are you not in a good mood?" Dalen teased. Lucia frowned. He sat up straight and looked down at Lucia. "Why are you in a bad mood?" Lucia blushed. How did he always know how she was feeling? "Am I in a bad mood?" Lucia thought that it was best not to let Dalen know her thoughts. "Am I mistaken?" Dalen asked. "Of course you're wrong." Dalen's body was right next to hers. However, Lucia felt uncomfortable all over because of Dalen's strong and hot body, as if she was getting hot because of it. That is why she was in a hurry to leave. "Then change your position," Dalen said. Lucia's gaze flickered and turned to look at him. "Can I stay like this?" Lucia was immediately depressed. Why did she have to say it like that? Why did she think it was more dangerous? "Fine, then don't move." Dalen's voice turned rough. Lucia's body immediately froze as she looked at Dalen with a reddened face. "Dalen, I have an idea," she whispered. Dalen's dark eyes shone as if he wanted to devour Lucia. "Next to your room is my old room. There's a connection between the middle room. Isn't that good?" Lucia suggested. Are you suggesting you want to sleep in separate beds? Dalen asked. For your own good. Lucia's eyes sparkled as she tried to find all sorts of suitable excuses. How is that good? Dalen was skeptical. I haven't been here for 3 months, so sleeping in separate beds can save us both a lot of discomfort, Lucia explained. Since you are worried that I will feel uncomfortable, why didn't you suggest this earlier? Dalen asked with evil eyes. It's a matter of principle. Lucia raised her head proudly. Dalen found it unbearable as he pulled her towards him. Ah! Lucia's body fell to the ground, forcing her to lie down. She lay on Dalen's chest, and that action made her blush. What are you doing? Dalen suddenly gasped. My hand. Lucia was shocked and stopped struggling. She asked worriedly, Did I touch your hand? Did I hurt you? You did, Dalen said through clenched teeth, trying to control the pain. Let me see. Lucia held Dalen's hand, which was wrapped in gauze, and looked carefully. She wanted to see if there was blood, so she asked uncertainly, Should we go to the hospital? Dalen looked at her worried face. His heart was burning hot. Even his blood was boiling. The moment Lucia said that, she was pulled down and pressed against Dalen's lips. He kissed her lightly. Lucia's face turned hot. Your hands. Even if she was being kissed, she wouldn't dare to struggle like she did in the beginning. She couldn't touch Dalen's hand again. Dalen took his time with her soft lips and said in a low voice, It's okay. If you're really worried about my hand, just give me 2 more kisses and I'll be fine. Dalen, you're cheating. Lucia knew it was too late to play tricks. She was already kissing him. When it was time for dinner, Dalen leaned back on the bed and didn't get up. Aren't you going to eat? Lucia asked. Not eating, Dalen responded. Why? I'm not hungry. Lucia thought to herself, so it's fine for Dalen to not eat, but I have to eat every meal? However, looking at how uninterested he was, he really didn't seem to have any appetite at all. How about I serve it to you? Lucia asked. No need. You go eat. Fine. If you don't want to eat, then I'll eat by myself. Lucia ignored him, grumbling as she left the room. When she was sitting at the dining table, Edward asked, Where's Mr. Patrick? He said he wasn't hungry and didn't want to eat, Lucia answered. It was the first time Edward saw Dalen not eating dinner. He'll be hungry at some point, so keep the food hot. These words came from Lucia herself. She knew at some point Dalen would feel hungry, so might as well keep the food ready for him. All right, Edward said. Lucia was venting her anger as she held the food in her hand. She was truly baffled as to why Dalen was not eating. What now? Was it comfortable for him to eat with her? Lucia was a little angry and she was overeating. When she got up, she felt bloated. She had eaten quite a lot. She rubbed her bulging stomach and left the dining room, returning to the bedroom. Seeing that Dalen was still leaning against the bed, she purposely said, Yeah, it was really delicious. I feel like the food today is especially yummy. Delicious? Seeing that Dalen had been tempted, Lucia continued, Right. I feel very different from before. I still want to eat even though my stomach is already stuffed from eating too much. Do you want some too? Fine. Go get Edward to bring it up. Feed it to me, Dalen said calmly. However, Lucia's heart was no longer calm. No? Dalen asked when he saw that Lucia remained silent. Yes, of course. Why not? Lucia chuckled and stood up to ask Edward to bring the dishes. Once outside, the smile on her face turned down. Dalen did this on purpose, right? But there was no proof of this. Besides, she was the one who said the food was delicious, so he had reluctantly agreed that she should feed him. There seemed to be nothing wrong with that. However, Lucia felt that something was strange. After Edward brought the food over, she sat on the edge of the bed and personally fed it to Dalen. While eating, Dalen stared at Lucia with interest and asked, "Are you in a bad mood?" "No, I'm fine." But Lucia's face was dark. After a few minutes of silence, Lucia asked, "Do you agree with what I said?" "About what?" Dalen pretended not to know. "The room, me sleeping next door," Lucia reminded him. "Don't even think about it." Lucia groaned. "But if we let the door in the middle open, we would be able to see each other. What's the difference?" "You'd be out of my reach over there," Dalen answered. Lucia was speechless. When the doctor came to change the medicine on Dalen's hands, Lucia was kicked out of the room. She sat in the doorway, drawing circles on the carpet. What does it matter? Was she that timid? Dalen had simply underestimated her. Lucia gave 2 snorts to express her strong dissatisfaction. The door opened and the doctor came out. Lucia strode forward and stopped him. The doctor was stunned. "Greetings, ma'am." "Is Dalen's hand all right?" she asked. "Nothing permanently damaging. Just wait for the wound to heal," the doctor said with a smile. "Is the wound terrible?" Lucia asked. "The wound is quite deep, but there's nothing else." "How long will it take to recover?" "Because it's on the palm, even if it's healed, you can't immediately straighten it. Otherwise, the wound will easily split open." After the doctor left, Lucia went into the bedroom. The window was open, and there was no smell of medicine. "Did you ask the doctor about my condition?" Dalen asked. "Yes." Lucia pouted, as if she was not satisfied with his answer. Then she thought of something and laughed. "Dalen, are you not allowed to straighten your hand? Is that why you're not in the mood to eat today?" Dalen looked at Lucia, who was smiling happily. She immediately stopped laughing. Suppressing the happiness in her heart, she said with a straight face, "It's all right. It's not like your hand is permanently injured. I've already asked the doctor. The doctor said it will take a long time for you to recover, so you should take care of your wounds properly." "Is that why you asked the doctor?" Dalen asked. "Eh?" Lucia was confused about what he was implying. "You're worried that I won't be able to satisfy your body once the 3 months are up," Dalen explained with a grin. Lucia tensed up. "I didn't. I'm just concerned about your hand. Why would you think that?" "Lucia, don't worry. Even if I only have one hand right now, I'd have no problem satisfying you. Do you want to try?" Dalen started leaning forward. Lucia moved back. "I don't want to go to sleep on this bed tonight." "If you don't go to bed, I'll come to you," Dalen threatened. Later that night, when Dalen was in the bathroom, Edward came panting to the door. "What's wrong?" Lucia asked. "It's Victoria, ma'am," Edward answered. "Don't call her that." Lucia was unhappy. "Then what should I call her?" "Just call her Chrysanthemum," Lucia said, seeing a bouquet of flowers on the table. "Is there a problem?" Edward asked. "Is Dalen available?" "Of course not. How can I bother Dalen with such a small matter? I'll deal with her. Don't tell Dalen." Lucia demanded. "All right." Lucia smiled in satisfaction. She turned around and went downstairs. Victoria sat obediently on the sofa, looking like a lady from a noble family. Actually, Lucia felt bad for Victoria. Both her parents had died, and she had grown up with Axel's family. Her mental state was definitely not stable. Plus, her body often couldn't withstand pain. But she hated Lucia and was insistent on treating her badly. Wasn't that just adding fuel to the fire? Lucia walked over and sat on the opposite sofa. She thought about what kind of posture she should use to sit, and finally imitated Dalen and crossed her legs. Victoria looked at Lucia's posture and frowned. She looked as if she couldn't bear to see Lucia in such a state. "Where's Dalen?" Victoria asked. "Dalen is resting. He asked me to come ask you what's the matter. Tell me, I'll help you pass on the message," Lucia said. "I don't believe you. Dalen definitely didn't know I was coming," Victoria argued. How can you be so sure, Lucia thought. Like you know Dalen. He knew, and that's what he told me. He said I could make whatever decision I wanted. After Lucia finished speaking, she saw Victoria's body sway a little, and her face turned even paler. Lucia reached out her hand to stop her. Don't faint. Do you think I would faint because you say so? What a joke. Victoria took a few deep breaths to steady herself. What a joke, Lucia thought. If you were to faint here, I would throw you out, Lucia muttered under her breath. Victoria's downcast gaze flashed. She stood up and demanded, I want to see Dalen. But why would Lucia agree to let her go see Dalen? Wasn't it obvious why she was here? To try and steal Dalen? Lucia quickly stood in front of Victoria. Victoria, you aren't going to Dalen and my bedroom, are you? Why not? Victoria pouted. As a woman, how can you just walk into a married man's room? Besides, Dalen is still sleeping. What do you mean by disturbing him? Lucia said, authority resonating in her voice. No matter how outrageous I am, I'm still stronger than you. Victoria's face turned pale. I'm his wife and I know my place, Lucia said. Really? Then why did I hear that Dalen only married you because of your identity as his mother's savior? What qualifications do you have to stay by Dalen's side? Victoria's voice dripped with hatred. Lucia's face flushed red. She looked at Victoria with cold eyes. You know quite a lot. So what? Dalen would rather marry me than to marry you. As I have said before, Dalen can marry you, but I can also cripple you. How long can you sit in this position? I think that Dalen is capable of pitying you. After all, your father just died. He's probably waiting for you to finish grieving before he tosses you into the street. Lucia's blood immediately congealed as flames burned in her heart. Victoria raised her head with an expression that was getting more and more pleased with herself. Lucia couldn't bear it any more and sent a slap across Victoria's face. Bang! Ah! Victoria's face turned. She staggered, fell to the ground, and fainted. Before Lucia could recover her wits, she heard Dalen's low voice from behind her. What's going on? Lucia turned around in surprise.